Hello friends, this is Disestablishment Juggling. Today I want to talk to you about an age-old debate, one that's been going on since the starts of time, maybe longer. Tech versus flow. So to start with, let's give a brief definition of each of those, because everybody has their own meaning when they say those words, right? So, tech. When I think of tech, I think of the scientist in the lab. I think of the person who's going in and doing the work to find new interesting things. Now those things may not be applicable to anything, but that's not the point of tech. The point of tech is to push the boundaries and say, this is possible. We can do this. That's very different from the, say, flow side of things. I think that the flow side of things says, okay, I don't want to just know I can do this thing. An example, I don't want to just say I can do Mill's mess. If I were to do an example of Mill's mess like this would be a very tech sort of example. As a flow juggler, what I'd be looking for is, well, what can I do from that while still maintaining that? So I'm starting to look for applications. I don't want to just prove it's possible. I want to know how I can use it in real life. And this is something that goes on in the straight up science field as well, right? You have researchers in the lab who go in and figure out what's possible. What can we do with this material? What new materials can we create? But that doesn't actually make something useful necessarily. Sometimes it does. Sometimes you get penicillin. So there are useful things that come out of that. But penicillin without the application, without bringing it into the hospital and giving it to sick patients, has no real purpose. And I don't think that the researchers in the lab or the tech side of the juggling community or even the poi community is actually taking their tricks from their lab into the hospital. And so this is an age-old debate, and I think both sides get mad at each other a lot, but I don't think there's necessarily a reason for that. I like a lot of the tech community in the juggling scene. I think you guys are doing really interesting stuff. However, I think that the performance side of things is very overrepresented by tech performers. And I think there's a thing there. In science, you can have somebody who does tech that goes and does a technical preview of what they're working on. And that can be really cool, particularly for enthusiasts, right? They will tend to pull a crowd of people that already know something about the topic, that are already interested in the topic. But you also need your Neil deGrasse Tysons to go and make Cosmos. Is Cosmos scientifically interesting? No. No, not if you're like on the cutting edge of cosmology, right? Then Cosmos isn't going to be interesting to you necessarily, but it's an extremely valuable thing that's happening there. And I think going as far as to say that Neil deGrasse Tyson is a bad scientist because what he presents is usable, applicable, understandable by the public is a really sort of weird thing to say. You know where that money comes from? The public. So you have to have this interaction between these two communities. The tech people aren't necessarily going to be able to get on stage and be in front of people and make a good presentation that lots of people are going to understand. However, if they have somebody like Neil deGrasse Tyson, then you have somebody who is an ambassador. A lot of what I've argued for in the juggling community is that we need more ambassadors. Go look around on the internet. Go see what we're putting out into the public eye. And if you don't think of the internet as the, quote, public eye, I think you're kind of missing the point of technology. That is where things are happening right now. If we don't have a presence online, applying what's happening in the lab, I think we're missing the point. And that's sort of what I meant when I said, let's make juggling cool. Let's start bringing out these presenters, these performers. Let's start thinking about the patterns that are being made, and let's take them a step farther. Let's not look at it as, hey, I want to show off Mill's mess. Let's look at it as, what can I do with Mill's mess? How can I show this to the public and say, look at these applications of this trick? They're all pretty much Mill's mess. There's just all this cool stuff I can do. And that's the way I think about juggling. I don't just sit down and try and learn the new trick. I don't consider a trick done until I can integrate it into a pattern. So I've been playing a lot of shapeshifting recently, right? And like, I didn't consider this learned until I could start putting it into patterns, learning how it transitions into other things. Great example of that would be a trick like this, right? So a pretty basic carry, but it comes out of Mill's mess, right? But it goes into this nice column trick. Transitions into something. And I think if we're not showing those transitions, if we're not painting an entire picture, we're going to have a really hard time bringing in an audience that's not jugglers. And that's, again, sort of what I'm after. I know there's jugglers out there watching me. And I love you guys. You're wonderful. You guys are doing cool stuff. But I want to bring in these other people too to enjoy what we're doing. So that's my take on tech versus flow. I think that there's a good mix to be had between those, but I don't think we're representing it currently in the juggling community. And I think we should represent it more. I think we need more of that, quote, flow. And also, I don't think flow jugglers are inherently bad guys. I mean, come on, really? I think there's plenty of good flow jugglers. So I think we can show skill and show tech, but I think we can show it in a better way that's not just clips of trick, trick, trick. We can do something that's cohesive and tells an entire story that doesn't just show a snapshot. I hope you'll come see me again soon. I'm Goblin. This was Disestablishment Juggling, and I will see you again soon.